Alright, so welcome to episode 67 of a Desert Friends podcast, the very first episode of season 3. Today's special guest is Shyam Bhuller, who runs at Melbourne Uni with me, hosts a podcast of his own, which we'll touch on, Insights with Experts, I believe, yeah?
Yep.
Shyam holds PBs of 441 in the 15, which he will improve very shortly. Stitch him up there, but 10:19 in the 3K is very impressive, and 17:15 I'm pretty sure in the 5K. So those are much better times than me in the 3 and 5K. So got me covered there. Yeah, how's it going, mate?
Awesome, mate. Awesome. Firstly, thanks so much for having me on. Super excited, honestly. Yeah, let's go.
Now let's get cracking. So we always start with hypotheticals,
Right.
as always.
Right.
And let's say if you could win one race, let's say national champs, which one would that be and why?
I could win one race. I'd probably go for the 1500. And the
Why is
reason
that?
why I said that is because it's the one race I want to avenge myself in. As you nicely said to everyone, I'm currently sitting at about the 440 range, and I think if I want to really, avenge myself, show my potential, I reckon that's a race I really want to do well in. Like in this question, are we talking about just like races on the track or just races overall, just like anything?
Oh, so there's one on track. Let's
Yeah,
go on the roads maybe.
on the road. So, right, I'll tell you what. So I recently watched the Joe Rogan podcast with David Goggins.
Goggins,
If I'm not wrong, I think so.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And in it, he talks about the world's hardest ultra marathon, and it's called the Badwater something. And essentially, what the race is it's 130 miles, if I'm not wrong, or something stupid like that, and you run across the Death Valley. I'm pretty sure
Death Valley, what a name.
in the US,
Something like
and
that.
it is the hottest location on the planet. So it's something like 50 degrees. So imagine you're running like 130 miles at 50 degrees. So if I could win one race, why not win the hardest race in the world?
Exactly.
There you
That's the
go.
mentality. And to put it into context, like you're running over like mountains and it's like deserts pretty much like the California. Down
Yeah.
there. It's incredible.
It's insane.
Yeah. And speaking of this, like obviously you like grew up in plenty of places, but can we like touch on Malaysia? Obviously the climate is, quite excruciating, I'd say. So talk us through your experiences living there.
Yeah. Yes, as you said, with the climate, essentially there are no seasons or anything like that, like in Australia. It's gonna stay at 30 to 36 degrees all year round. And so obviously you can imagine running there, right? You know, fairly hard, and and I would think after like the first week of doing it, you get used to it. But no, I was there for 6 years, and at the end of it, you'd still feel that heat every time. But yeah, I mean, other than that, just in terms of what growing up in Malaysia was like, I mean, it was a very interesting place because so just before I was in Malaysia, I spent 7 years in Sydney and I spent 6 years in Singapore. And I mean, if you just compare Sydney, Singapore to Malaysia, you're looking at countries, Australia and Singapore, which have a GDP per capita. I think Singapore's is currently 80, Australia's is currently 55, and the GDP per capita of Malaysia is, I think it's 17, if I'm not wrong. So the average person in Malaysia essentially earns 17,000 US a year. Whereas if you compare that to Singapore, it has one of the highest in the world. So does Australia. Now you can imagine just the contrast in the living situation there, just in terms of like the things you would see, the infrastructure, the people you would be around, and everything like that. So it just really puts into perspective, I guess, just the main thing, which is how lucky you are as a person. So yeah, it was interesting.
100%. I can relate to that because my family's from East Timor, which is close to Malaysia, I guess. Some people speak Hakka, which is the language I speak. And yeah, the climate's pretty similar, and the infrastructure is like not as developed, or yeah, for sure. That'll change in the future eventually. Yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully.
yeah. And I mean, like I say it all the time, like I don't think people understand how great of a country Australia is. Just in terms of what we have here. Like, I've been here in Melbourne for like year and a half, just over a year and a half now, and I've like even during lockdown, I can say I've just loved like every second of it. It's been great. So yeah.
That's awesome. And currently, obviously, we're recording in a special kind of studio type setting at Melbourne Uni. Pretty sick. Got no one literally here a bit. Anyway, so you've been like studying your, I believe, double degree in let's get it right here, arts and economics.
I mean, the entire degree is in arts,
Yeah.
but the first part is in politics and international relations and stuff like that, and the second major is in economics. So essentially, half the course gets taken through commerce, half the course gets taken through arts. So yeah.
And it's interesting how arts like I know we had discussions on this, like you can go to the journalism route or you can go to like political like so you know how it's like so diverse.
100%. Like it's insanely broad. Because from arts, I think you can go anywhere from politics to geography to journalism to learning a specific language, as you said. Like it's huge. Yeah.
What's your pitch to people, aspiring to come to Melbourne University?
To come to Melbourne University.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the thing, right? If you go to any uni, like if you go to Melbourne Uni or if you go to Swinburne or if you go to Oxford or Harvard or anything like that, let's say you take an economics course. Everyone is going to learn the basics of economics. Everyone's going to more or less learn the same thing. You're going to leave that course after a few years knowing that, when you decrease the tax rate, disposable income goes up and all these laws and everything like that. Now, with everyone learning the same thing, you then ask yourself, what differentiates, what sets you apart at being at a uni like the University of Melbourne? And it's not necessarily just what you learn in your course and so on, and I guess how smart you are at the end of it. It's the environment, it's the people that you surround yourself when you're at that uni. Now, like a very good quote that I always like to follow is surround yourself in a room of people that are smarter than you are. And I mean that, I just mean surround yourself with people that you can improve yourself from, people who can push you, people who can challenge you in all kinds of ways. Now, when you go to a uni like this, that's more or less what you're going to find yourself with. And from there, I mean, not just what you learn from the people around you and the tutors and students, once you actually go, once you actually leave uni, once you're working and, when you have a job, like a job and all that stuff, I think one harsh thing that many of us have to face is, yes, while it's a lot about what you know, it's actually very heavily about who you know. And that network that you can build in uni is so important, which is why I think it's important to go to a well-established uni like this one here. How's that?
That is a very
I,
good
I promise I'm not working for Uni Melbourne. I'm just a student here. But I just do want to reiterate as well. I'm not saying it's Uni Melbourne nothing, and I'm not saying that you should peg someone's value to what uni they went to at all. I mean, if anything, what we're seeing now, some of the most successful people on the planet aren't successful because of what course they took or what uni they're at, or anything like that. So anything works. Anything works. 100%. 100%.
I guess so. This one's pretty straightforward. We met through running and going out Melbourne Uni.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone got to join. It's just great culture. Everything
100%.
I guess what inspired you to start running for the club on a weekly basis? Obviously at the uni for arts.
I mean, I kind of said it in that big dramatic pitch about the about the uni. Surround yourself with people that are not just smarter than you are, but people that you can improve yourself with. At the Melbourne Uni Club, you've got all these big names. You've got Jack, all these people here that that just by human nature you're gonna want to keep up with when you race. And when you put yourself in a position where you're racing with people that aren't just at your level, but people that that are ahead of you, it gives you a goal to chase. So I think that's why it's always important to join a club, and especially one like Melbourne Uni here, where we have the coaches like Dan and Ellie.
These are nationals. Yeah,
There you go. There you go. We've got national coaches. Why would you not want to join?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And just to like reiterate, like you said, because there's people of all abilities, like
Mhm.
people are just trying to, stay fit and maintain their like health and fitness, and there's people, running nationals. Whereas some running groups are like, just focused on like getting to nationals. It needs like a good mix, like how
100%. Yeah.
Dev's got. Yeah.
Yeah, and like when you join clubs like this, it's not just it's not just you're there to get physically stronger and run and all that stuff. It's like the social aspect as well. Like just the connections, just the fun you can have out of a club. For example, this very podcast probably wouldn't be happening if we
100%,
didn't
yeah.
join that. Like who knows what can come from this, and anything like that. So yeah,
Anyway, so let's touch on obviously you're working for, how do you pronounce it? Alright.
I want to hear you pronounce it. Let's see. Because everyone says it a different way. So yeah, there you go. Oracui. Yeah, Oracui. And you're probably thinking right now, what on earth does Oracui mean, right?
Yeah.
So Oracui was derived from the Latin term oracle, which is essentially where we get the idea from of the entire company, which is all about mentorship. Now, very quickly, what Oracui does is we want to facilitate mentorship between students in high school and students in university. So imagine you're a student, you jump on Oracui, you put in anything about you, what you want to study, where you want to study, what courses you like, what your hobbies are, anything like that. And what the Oracui algorithm does is we then take your profile and we find you the most relevant mentors, people you can speak to, current students who are currently in the unis of your choice. So, let's say you're on the fence of whether I want to go to RMIT or Uni Melbourne, Swinburne, anything like that. Exactly like you. One week you can talk to someone from RMIT. Hey, how's this course? What have you learned? What's the workload like? What's it like living in the city? Maybe next week you talk to someone from Uni Melb. And essentially, what we want to do is we want to democratize the ability for students to get mentored, for students to have a network of other students to just help them. And yeah, that's Oracui.
I'm gonna give that a go. And for like
Come
most of our
on.
listeners who are in high school right now, like you're missing out. Yeah, 100%. Like we need this type of stuff, and yeah, I'm sure I'll share it with a few friends.
Yeah. We'll have version 2 of the platform released in about a week and a half's time, and that's got like twice the features and everything like that. And so yeah, you guys will enjoy it.
100%. And adding on that, what about on my feed? Because I had a look at your PDF you sent me,
Mhm.
did all my research
Yeah,
there. Can you like tell us about that? Because that's a bit about mentorship as well, but in other avenues.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what on my feed is, it's in an Australian organization that essentially aims to, very simply, yeah, as the name suggests, get people on their feet, specifically people who are homeless or at risk of being homeless. Now, what it involves, what I'm specifically doing is I'm one of the coaches at the Footsteps program, which is essentially a six-month course that these people can come and attend, and it's a session once a week. And in that session, there are two main parts. First part is all about physical health, so that's what I run. We essentially do a fitness session over in North Melbourne, and then the second half of that session is, I guess, all about mental health, things that essentially are going to help them through life. Life skills. That's how to cook. That's the importance of financial literacy. That's mental health, sleeping, just overall important life skills. That's done inside in a workspace. Uh, and that's on my feet. Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, it's just amazing what they do. Like, because I think Maslow's hierarchy of theories, what was it called? It's like your physical, your psycho, and your social self is like the three most important pillars of life, essentially.
100%. Yeah, I had this one friend,
Yeah.
and he described life as like a Rubik's cube, in the sense that like you can't just get one side right. You can't just cover one side of life, whether that be physical aspect of your life, or whether that's the mental aspect or anything like that, and think that you're a complete person. So he's essentially says that you have to have a complete balance of multiple facets of your life whether that be a social aspect, a mental aspect, a physical aspect, everything like that. And so essentially, with On My Feet, we're thinking it's not just about giving them a handout; it's about giving them a hand up through all these avenues in life. So yeah,
So we'll definitely link those two organisations on the show notes for sure.
sounds good.
A bit of sports now because we love sports on the podcast. So,
Mhm.
from research, you go for AC Milan and Man United in the football. So,
Yeah.
touch us or talk us through your love for both teams.
Well, to like, okay, my love for Man United is definitely stronger. Yeah, in terms of love for the teams, and I can't even remember a point when like I just woke up one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to support Man United." My entire family had been supporting them, and so when I knew football, I knew Man United. Or should I say football? I should probably say soccer here,
Yeah,
if
I
that's what
just
we
wanted
call
to
it.
go like,
um,
definitely,
but yeah, awesome teams. At the moment, not doing too well, especially Man United. We've changed our managers around. I think when our fifth manager in the past 7 years, if I'm not wrong. And even though we've got superstars in the team, Ronaldo, Cavani, Pogba, all these players, we're just still not performing. So yeah, not a good time to be a fan.
What about AC Milan? Like, I don't know about nowadays. They're not as good. I think 06 or 07
Yeah,
Champions League. Oh, yeah.
yeah, they've got players there like Ibrahimovic is back. He's that superstar and everything like that. But yeah, if I'm being honest, I'm not following them too much
Yeah,
anymore.
just more Man United.
Yeah, just more Man United. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully, I don't know, squeeze back into the top four. I don't know how Arsenal's in the top four.
Arsenal have been on a very good run.
Yeah, the youngsters are stepping up.
I've been actually asked what team do you support
I go for Leicester. We beat Man United, so.
before or after they won?
Oh,
Did you
it's
start
probably,
after? Did you?
probably during,
During. But yeah. I mean, I respect them as a club. Some nice players in there. So, yeah. Jeremy Vardy has stayed consistent, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, unlike Maguire. Second we bought him, yeah.
Yeah, disgraceful.
It's like 80 million, and
It's funny, the like memes how like in 2009 Ronaldo was 80 mil, and then like
yep,
10 years later Maguire was 80 mil. Yeah, it's
it's
funny how
insane.
like world changes with football and money.
So much money in football at the
Oh,
moment.
it's crazy.
Yeah, have you seen the Saudi takeover of Newcastle?
They're gonna be a contender next season if they don't like get relegated.
Listen to this. So Newcastle, the owners are worth 1.3 billion, and the second richest owners in football, I think it's Man City, are worth 300 million. So just imagine that as a jump, and the team they could assemble off that.
We've already assembled a few.
Yeah, I think they got him.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. But surely that's to be some kind of law in place now, where you can't just have the most wealthy team.
It's kind of weird.
Actually, is. Yeah, that's to be some kind of law in place now. Yeah, and then there was the entire Super League.
Oh, yeah, they were about to assemble like the big
And
teams.
and like the top six clubs in the EPL all said, "Yeah, let's do it." And it would. I mean,
It's close to happen.
to be fair, yeah, like there would like the clubs in it would have made a ridiculous amount of money. But then just imagine who would watch the EPL without the top six in there. Probably no one. So you're essentially transferring all that wealth in football to like 11 clubs, and all the other clubs in like the local Spanish leagues, local French leagues, local English leagues, and stuff like that. Be horrible.
Yeah.
Be horrible.
I couldn't imagine that.
Yeah.
Yeah, why change, winning form? What about the cricket? Have you been following the Ashes much? Or
Not too much, if
not
I'm
too
being
much?
honest. Not too much. I'll be honest with that one.
Any cricketers you like, idolize? Don't still follow? Not really.
Not really. I mean, there's like Sachin, which I kind of have to, because I mean I'm Indian at the end of the day. So
Yeah, he's the goat. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
incredible.
But yeah, other than that, honestly not. I mean, how about you?
At Collins at the moment, yeah, he like if Fazball being captain, no one expected that, and he just goes and keeps bowling consistently and winning the Ashes essentially. Yeah.
Awesome.
And judging by soccer, most of us like soccer football lovers tend to play FIFA as well.
100%.
I guess a few of us like playing foot champs, pro clubs, all that. I'm sure you know all about it. So talk us through your love of gaming and what do you play in FIFA?
Yeah. So yes, I'd say like FIFA is definitely up there with my favorite games of all time. Probably FIFA, GTA 5, and Call of Duty. Like it's a very average list. Like it's not in
But
an
like, it's good. It's a good
unpopular
list. Yeah,
list,
solid.
but it's a popular list for a reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So yeah, like in terms of FIFA, what do I like? So I stopped playing in like 2018. And so I played Ultimate Teams, I played Career Mode, all that stuff. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what Foot Champs is. Like yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know what Foot Champs is. So can you please explain?
Yeah. So it's essentially, how you got to like verse people online and all that. Like, just, but yeah, it's changed so much over the past few years. Essentially, you qualify for it by winning Div Rivals, which is like online matches against teams in like tiers and all that. Then you qualify for Foot Champs. You play 30 matches across the weekend,
Mhm.
and depending on how many matches you win, you
30
get like
matches on the
rewards.
weekend.
I did that a few years ago. Wasn't healthy, but let's say I won 14 matches, you get like gold free. You get 2 player picks for the team of the weeks. So the 2 player picks, you get like some good red picks,
Yeah.
and then you get some packs with it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Sounds
pretty
interesting.
serious.
Yeah, like I remember just the amount you had to grind at FIFA to have a good team,
Good team,
like
yeah, 100%.
ultimate team. Um, but at the end of the day, what I used to do, instead of paying like 60K for Sanchez or like 400K for like Ronaldo or like any of those players, I would
Yeah,
just put together just the most like cost efficient team.
I get what you
You
mean. Yeah,
you would want to go for those players that had like 90 pace, 80 physicality, that were like 78 rated, but would would cost
yeah,
like 1.2K. And you would put that team together. You could probably form that team for like 14K, and then you use that team to kind of win games and so on. And I think that's how you then build this big team. Or you could ask your mum for more money and then just open up packs and all that kind of
yeah, I
stuff.
do that. Yeah.
But yeah,
I actually got into trading. I'm not sure if you heard that. 2 years ago, I did this and it got me lots of FIFA coins. I think FIFA 20, I barely played it, but I got like into trading. I got like 900k coins just stuck there, didn't even use them. And it's like you buy a player for 10k, you sell it for more, like 19k, you just flip it.
so it's like
It's like,
NFTs essentially.
yeah, in FIFA.
So wow.
Yeah, and we used to watch these YouTube videos on how to do
Uh-huh.
it. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so without spending anything. Yeah. Anyway, what about
Wow.
COD? I've been interested because I played like Modern Warfare 2 was my first ever COD I played with my
Mhm.
friends when I was like
Mhm.
9,
Mhm.
and the noob tubes everything. I think I spoke to someone about it.
Mhm.
What about yourself? Like which
Yeah.
CODs?
So I started with COD 4. Well, what was I? Like my parents.
Must have been 7 years old. You
No,
guys.
that's the thing. My parents didn't allow me to touch anything Xbox, PS4, anything like that until I was like 12. They were just very strict about the entire thing. So I got a Xbox 360 at 12, and I got Halo Reach, which was a beautiful game, one of the best games of all time, in my opinion. And I got COD 4. And it was just a very fun year. I got COD 4, and moved on to like Black Ops 2, which is just
Yeah.
probably the best COD in my opinion. And then yeah, we
Second.
went on to Ghost and all that kind of stuff as well, and then all those other ones.
Black
And
Ops 3. That
then
was my COD, mate.
yeah, I played some
Switch
Black Ops
Masters, man.
3, some like World War 2 as well. That was actually okay. I feel like it was quite underrated.
And then
Um,
it just kind of died. That's my
yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I haven't played any games since then because funny story. When I came from Malaysia to Melbourne, I didn't just fly over peacefully, I literally had to escape Malaysia because it was going into lockdown because of COVID and everything like that.
Oh,
So I
wow.
grabbed everything I could, and the PS4 just didn't make it in the list of essential items. So I left it at my grandma's house. And so since then, I've been without anything. I'll be honest, it has probably been just the most useful thing I've ever done in terms of how much more productive I've become
Yeah.
without it. Because when you've got nothing to do, usually I would just turn on the PS4. Now I have nothing to do. Okay, I have to open up my laptop. I have to start working. I have to start doing something like that. So yeah, if you want to become super productive, accidentally misplace your PS4. That's my advice.
That's a good plan. Yeah. I did a similar thing. Like I think August 2020, I just like quit PlayStation for like a whole year. Since then, I've played it like on and off, but it's never been the same. Like not a bad thing, but
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's a bit of self improvement and all that. So
Yeah.
like our generation, or probably mine more so, like so into their technology and all that, that it's like getting the detrimental effects instead of like Black Ops 2, the
Yeah,
momentous stuff.
that's the thing, right?
Yeah,
So okay, just Black Ops 2 on its
just
own
Nuketown.
was just such a fun game. Not obviously because I mean, yes, because it was good maps, all that stuff, nice guns, but just the fun you would have with your friends in that game. Same with like GTA and FIFA and all that stuff. But I think like one thing that many parents don't get when they see their kids playing games is that it's not a very introverted thing. You're actually constantly with other people. You're constantly talking to other
Exactly
people.
right.
Like it's a
Yeah.
very fun social thing. Yeah.
For those who haven't played, you should give it a go, but in
Hmm.
moderation as well. For
In
those who do
moderation.
play, yeah. um, and I guess spotlight segment a bit different now. So if you haven't listened to the Insight with Experts podcast, go check it out. It's a bit, different to Jez and Friends, but lots to learn from it. Like plenty of CEOs, I'm sure. And can you, I guess, yeah, describe the aim of a podcast and how the interviews have, influenced you, Sean?
Yeah. So we started about a year and a half ago, I'd say, as of now, and we're at about, I think we're actually at the same as you. We're at about like the 68th episode or something like that. But essentially, why we made insights with experts? No, it's mainly because we looked at ourselves and we thought, okay, so it was me and it was four other of my friends, and we really thought about what hell helped us as we were going through uni, as we were going through, finding jobs and stuff like that. And yes, it was, obviously the schools we went to, it was the university courses we went to, it's the books we read, all that stuff. But one of the main things was the role models that we had. It was our parents, it's, the experiences they had, and off those experiences, what they could inform us about. They'd walked a certain pathway, and off that, they would then say, Shyam, do this, shouldn't do this, and all that stuff. Now, we realized that we were very fortunate because we were placed in a good position with our parents and our school and everything like that. And what wasn't fair is that it should be the case that some students have access to this network of role models and everything like that, and some don't. So what the plan with Insights with Experts was okay, let's democratize the ability for students to get advice, to get insights from experts. So people in all these fields and everything like that. So essentially what we do is every week we interview someone who is an expert in a certain field. That's ranged from someone who is an astrophysicist to Olympic athletes to CEOs to social media influencers and so on. And we essentially just want to get their advice for a student who wants to go down the same path. And even students who don't want to go into that field, students who just want general advice into what a certain thing is. Let's say you want to go into journalism, but you don't know too much about what it's like. Jump online, find an episode where we interviewed a journalist, and get that anecdotal experience of what they did, whether they enjoyed it, what advice they have for you, and everything like that. So yeah, that's Insights with Experts. I mean, second half of that question, what have I learned from it? Um, I mean, honestly, like again, it's all these stories that you're not going to find in uni. Like, yes, I mean, sticking with economics as the example, in uni, I'm going to learn about how the ADAS curve shifts according to this. I'm going to learn how X influences Y. But nowhere in my economics course is someone going to tell me about that time they worked at Goldman Sachs. Like nowhere in that course is someone going to tell me about the time they walked into Parliament House and what people were saying to them and all that kind of stuff. That all comes through talking to people who have walked in these shoes. So I think that's the main difference. And I feel as though with all these opinions and everything like that, I feel like I become a lot less naive to the person I want to be in the future because I kind of have a rough idea of what all these different avenues have in store. So yeah,
100%. I need to check it out because
hop on, hop on.
I'll put another show notes recommendation there, 100%. And these guys, it's not just like interviews. They've got like snippets of TikToks and
All that stuff.
all the entertainment for
Yeah,
us people. Yeah.
any ages, any age.
And yeah,
Oh,
should be fine.
I'll be right.
Should be right. Now on a more fun note, let's talk
Right.
about a bit of music. So talk us through like what you listen to, artists, genres. Take it away.
Okay, so I wouldn't say I have like a specific genre or anything like that. I enjoy hip hop, I enjoy R&B and everything like that. Off the top of my head, so yesterday, no, so the day before yesterday, The Weeknd released a very nice album. Um, and I'd probably say he's up there with one of my favorite artists. Uh, Reason why is probably because he's taken much of his inspiration from Michael Jackson, and Michael Jackson was my dad's favorite artist. And so I kind of grew up listening to Michael Jackson and all that stuff, and I like loved his music. And then The Weeknd comes along, not copying, but taking influence from his entire style, which is I think why I really like The Weeknd so much. So yeah, I'd say he's up there with like my favorite musician. In terms of genre, again, I don't know. I can't really pinpoint a genre. Hey, anything's
Same,
fine,
same.
honestly. Anything's fine. And I reckon you need different music based on what you're doing. Like you're not gonna
Yeah.
you're not gonna listen to Adele when you go for a run.
Yeah, that's
No,
not for a run. I don't.
like I want to listen to like Eminem screaming in my ear
Yeah,
when
for a
I'm trying to
run. Yeah,
break a PB
exactly.
and all that stuff. So yeah. How about you? What's your favorite music?
It's a mix as well. Like artist-wise, I'm influenced by Juice WRLD, Killer and that's like hip hop rap type. Then I can go like Oasis, which is like kind of rock. Then your pop,
Yep, yep.
depending on the occasion. So like,
Mhm.
um, yeah. By the way, what's your favorite Wigan song?
You can't ask me that. You can't ask me that. There's
Too many
way,
hits, yeah.
way too many.
Too
Way,
many hits.
way, way too many. Um, yeah, and that's the thing with the weekend. No
Yeah.
two of his songs sound the same because he could go from a very hip hop song to a very pop song to a very R&B song to a very soul song. So yeah.
I like the one with is it Post Malone right now? It's always on the radio, so I think it's one right now.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So this is the money segment I call it.
Money segment.
Plenty of banter and whatnot, funny stories come from it. But like, do you want to share some of your stories, either from like your running life, living abroad? You want to just spit out. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there was this one night we went camping in Malaysia, and it was with like a school. It was with the school trip and everything
Bit
like
like a
that.
camp.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so we went up to this mountain in Johor, and it was me and my mates in a tent. Um, and all I can remember is yes, it was extremely hot, like 36 degrees at night. Um, but when we just before we went, um, so we obviously imagined it to be very hot because it's Malaysia, obviously, and all that stuff. So as we're going up the mountain, extremely hot. As we set the tents up, extremely hot. Then as we're trying to sleep, it's again, extremely hot. Then that night, it just drops down to something crazy, like 8 degrees, 6 degrees. But we packed for 36 degrees, not 6 degrees.
Oh no.
And I think that was just one of the most painful nights ever. Not really funny because it was just painful, but yeah, that's all I can tell you.
Oh no, I've got one. What about? Tell us about the camping trip you went on earlier this year with your mates.
At Wilson's prom.
Yeah, that one. It's not really funny, but like
Nah, that
it's
was
like it's like hectic, you know?
again. It's one of those trips that I have many stories to tell you about, but I probably can't say them here. I will tell you one like, fairly funny scenario. This is like our third day there at the camp. And we've done more or less everything that we go about to do. We've hiked all the mountains. We've gone to all the beaches and stuff like that. So we thought, all right, it's like six guys, probably like 20 to 24 years old. Like, what can we do that's fun? First thing that comes to our mind is water balloon fight. So we get this pack of 286 water balloons. We go to the beach, and what we do is we set up two like trenches, and they're literally so deep. Like it was like at my height. Yeah, like even more than that. And we separated them apart by about like 15 meters, and we built like sand barriers and everything like
did
that.
like lines and all that. Like,
Everything.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
if you like, it could have been out of like a movie set or something like that.
yeah.
And then we just played a water balloon fight. And, they're like these 6-year-old kids screaming around us because it's just hectic. It's it's
No one
it's
enjoying it.
it's just chaos, and we're like, stay away, kids, stay away. Like you will get hit in the face, and I do not want your mom coming up to me and all that. But yeah, it was just funny. It was just funny.
Yeah, we gotta do that. We've got a camp at Melbourne Uni first 2 days of year 12, so
Oh really?
yeah, down at Ormond College. So that's gonna be pretty fun. Oh,
I'll
maybe
tell
not
you what.
stomach camp.
I'll tell you what. We have to do a Unimelb track team camping session.
Oh, yeah,
It's
we
gonna
got
happen
one at
one day.
Falls Creek. Have you heard of that? That's
I
down
haven't.
in the
No.
altitude in the country of
Any
Victoria.
good? Any good?
Yeah, every summer they hold camps there, so
Oh really?
we just haven't done one this year. I don't know why. But gotta ask Ellie and Dan about
Next
next
time it
year.
happens, I'm
Yeah,
down.
have to. Yeah, we
Let's
have
do
to.
it.
100%. Yeah, I don't know about water balloon fight. Year 12, but we'll see how it goes. Like, teachers might crack the shits, but who cares? Gotta have a bit of fun. Yeah.
They say it's always better to ask for forgiveness than to ask
Yeah.
for permission. So have fun.
Yeah, true. And just quickly, I remember you said this at the Clyde, but can you talk about like the pressures of the schooling system or something around like Victoria, like in Australia? You know how you said the mental capacity of like Oracui.
Yes. Yeah, it's a very strange stat. They essentially found that the average stress level of a high school student in the US is the exact same as a mental patient in 1951. Um, so it just shows you, yeah, like it just shows you how we're cultivating kids, as of now, just in terms of the pressure that we're putting on their backs to succeed and everything like that. So yeah, shocking, shocking.
That's very interesting, very shocking, very hard to believe. Like how the system's changed. Like to progress, you're meant to progress it for the better, but in some ways, like it's costing the mental health of like lots of kids. So.
And, like it's because like okay, so let's say my parents were looking for a job back when they were like my age, you could probably they could probably find one fairly easy with
You
just
don't
like
even need a
just
resume or
yeah
anything.
or anything like that. It's probably just networking, just saying, hey, I've got a pair of hands I can work. But now it's like you can't even get your foot in the door without a master's degree. Just think about what that kind of pressure that puts on a kid. I mean, like so as someone who's choosing what uni and course they want to do as of now, like, are you feeling that?
Yeah, I'm feeling the
Yeah.
heat. I'm feeling the heat as a follow homework because we got like a shit ton. But, just gonna go quick because I'm not sure. Yeah, you probably are aware of this, but in year 12 we only have 3 terms, which finishes October and exams in November and all that. But,
Yeah.
like last year in year 11 we had like 4 terms, like more spread out. But this year it's more compact,
Right.
but
Right.
just less assessments. Still,
Mhm.
but yeah, like I love my schooling and I give it my all.
Mhm.
Sometimes it does cause a fair bit of stress, which like it's good to have a balance, like finding running and
Yeah.
podcasting and other avenues.
Mhm.
Whereas I
Absolutely.
feel for those kids, who I guess are too immersed into that school situation without any balance, which is I guess
Yeah,
sometimes an issue.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. Like, so where I was, so when I lived in Singapore for like 6 years, they're very big on grades and education and
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
like
100%.
that. And if you think the amount of stress that you get here is bad, just wait till you see Singapore.
Yeah,
It is insane.
yeah, for sure.
And there's there's this one school that's very infamous for it,
What's it called?
called like Angmokyo or something like that. And essentially, the average IB score in that school is 45 out of 45, which to put into context,
Perfect.
yeah. So the IB, they say, is like the hardest high school course in the world, and something like 250,000 people take it every year. And of that 250,000, less than 200 get 45 out of 45. And in that one school, and like Angmo, Kia, or something like that in Singapore, the average IB score is 45. So just think about the stress that you're in when you're in that school.
I had a few mates I interviewed who did their schooling in Singapore and
Mhm.
came here to my school
Yeah.
in year 7. So it was interesting. They were talking about how they, I think, woke up at 7 a.m. Well, like schooling started a lot earlier than
Mhm.
now. We start at like 9. I think. Is that right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
school
yeah.
starts
It is
earlier,
true.
yeah.
It is true. It's all earlier. Yeah.
Finishes at like, I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And good segue. So, Shyam, what's the best piece of advice someone has given you?
Whew. Best piece of advice someone's given me. Now, so at the end of every podcast that we do with Insights with Experts, we leave off every single podcast with one question. We essentially ask, if you had one piece of advice to leave students, young people, what would that one piece of advice be? And so I've heard that about, like I've heard this advice for like,
Yeah.
probably 65 times so far. And there are a few that stick out to me. I think the one that I really, really liked was was probably like the third one, and it was said actually by the headmaster of my school. And I would have thought, you would think the last person you want to take advice from is the headmaster of your school, right? Yeah. But it was actually a very, very good piece of advice. And essentially, what it is, you won't fully understand it the first time I say it, but it's essentially teaching emotional intelligence. Learning emotional intelligence is like learning how to swim. You have to be in a pool. And so, what he's essentially saying. So, if you just quickly break down what emotional intelligence is, it's the other side of intelligence. So you've got your IQ and you have your EQ. Your IQ is essentially just your intellect and so on. That's essentially, you just imagine someone taking a test, reading a book and all that stuff. That's your IQ. Now your EQ is your emotional intelligence. That's essentially how you conduct yourself with other people. That's how you essentially respond to change. That's how you leverage soft skills like communication and so on and everything like that. Now, in the 21st century, what we've found is that it used to be the case that IQ was a lot more important than EQ, but EQ is insanely important as of now, mainly because of how volatile the job economy is. And they say the one thing that you're going to have to really learn is how to adapt to changes, how you can leverage your EQ. So that then brings a question: how do you learn EQ if it's so important, right? If everyone's saying, learn emotional intelligence, how do you learn it? And as you said, it's like learning how to swim. It's the fact that there's no formula to learn emotional intelligence. You can't sit down at a lecture and someone can't tell you, right, do this and do this and do that. You simply have to just do experiences. And I literally mean bounce yourself off the world. just go and experience as many different things as you can. Whether one day it's joining a running team, the next day it's starting this company, it's starting this podcast, it's going to this country you've never been to in your life, it's finding a new hobby, it's doing all these different things. It's essentially just doing things that push you out of your comfort zone. That is how you build emotional intelligence. And that's a piece of advice.
Yeah, sometimes people get IQ too like, you know, fixated on it, and EQ is pretty much very important as well. And those who lack EQ, have a smaller support network, and that can be detrimental.
100%. And it's exactly what we spoke about in terms of what's happening in Singapore at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Because yes, you can get 45 out of 45 might be.
If your EQ is like zero, then how's it going to get you anywhere?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right.
That's a very good discussion. So many people need to listen to this EQ part.
Yeah.
'Cause I hear too many people like in my high school talking about IQ. Whereas, yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure if you read or love your movies and all that, but like, what's a book or movie you recommend for listeners? Could be one of each, maybe.
In terms of the book, so I personally recommend Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's my favorite book, mainly because I can empathize with it as a runner and as an entrepreneur. Um, so that's my favorite. But if I were to recommend a book for everyone that's maybe not so interested in running and entrepreneurship, I'm actually reading a fairly interesting book right now. That's called Humankind, a hopeful history. Essentially, what it is like what you find often in school and in uni is you're taught quite a dark and pessimistic view of human history and everything that's happened. Whereas in this book, they essentially talk about an optimistic view of human history. So why humans are good, why things we've done are good, and why intrinsically humans are actually good in nature and not selfish beings. And if you just want something that's refreshing, something that's going to open up your mind, have a go. It's a good book. Um, movie. What is my favorite movie? Again, you can't ask me this. You can't ask me this question. I will name my top three favorite movies. One, I'm a huge Christopher Nolan and Hans Zimmer fan, so I'd say Interstellar. Interstellar, the one with like Matthew McConaughey and all those people in it. Great film. Second one would be Inglourious Bastards by Quentin Tarantino. Amazing film, especially if you're into like history and satire and all that stuff. Third one is got to be Whiplash, which is a film about a drummer. It's played by Miles Teller, and then he has his mentor, who's played by J.K. Simmons. I think he won an Oscar for the role as well. It's a really good film about pushing yourself too hard, um, and everything like that. But yeah, watch those three films, and your life will be complete, in my opinion.
You said it.
That's all I have to say. Go home. Okay, that's the first thing you're gonna do when you
Interstellar's the first one.
first thing you're gonna do when you go home. First thing you're gonna do. I want to know though. What's your favorite movie?
Yeah. I guess to put into context, my first ever movie I saw at the cinemas was a Maze Runner Scorch Trials, so that's probably up there. And then I gotta add in a few sports ones to cap it off. So top three for me, you Coach Carter would be a massive one,
Oh, very good.
and Remember the Titans because it's just a classic. You can't go past that. You've seen both,
I've seen the first one, Coach Carter.
Coach Carter, yeah.
Samuel Jackson in that one is just amazing.
Yeah, and then Denzel Washington in Remember the Titans. So
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
awesome. And where are we now? So quick hands. This one is a footy context. So you should get into footy, Shyam.
I should. Yeah,
I'll get you to the North Melbourne game.
I'm so naive to it. Please teach me.
First one, pineapple and pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Beautiful, love that.
Why not?
Why not? Exactly right.
Add anything on pizza. If you don't like it, you don't like it. So what?
English and maths. subject was.
Why not both?
Why not both? First time we've heard that, I think.
Why not
Oh,
both?
mate, it's good on
Doing
that.
economics and politics. You can't just,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
you can't just
specialize in
yes,
one.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Favorite celebrity.
Matthew McConaughey. I've got to say, great act. Not just because he's a great actor, but just his entire philosophy on life and how he approaches it. If you just want to understand exactly what I'm talking about, watch his 2016 Oscar-winning speech, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And listen to the School of Greatness. There's a podcast about it. Favorite place to visit in the world? We're going global.
Is this a place I've visited before, or a place I maybe want to visit?
Let's go both.
Let's go both. Right. Favorite place I've been to was definitely the Himalayas. When I was about 10 years old, we did a trek in the Himalayas. So I still remember in my head seeing Mount Everest. It was just beautiful, beautiful. And since then, I kind of made it a thing. I told my family like one day I'm going to climb Mount Everest, and the same passion I had for it then, I have for it right now. Uh, it just changed me. Where do I want to go? Now, I mean, it would be easy to say the summit of Mount Everest after that, but I'll make it a bit more interesting. But where do I want to go? I've never been to South America before, so I'd love to go there, try the food. I'm a massive foodie as well, love to cook, so I'd love to learn how to make some nice South American food. Yeah.
What's your best meal to cook in the kitchen? You're trying to, impress all the Melbourne writers.
Okay, one that never fails to impress the crowd are Korean fried chicken burgers.
Oh,
They always slap, always.
nice.
If you want if you want something a bit more authentic that you're probably not going to get from a restaurant, I make a very good South Indian fish curry. Um, so yeah, so those are up there.
This is quite interesting. And lastly, for quick hands, what's your most used app on your phone?
Let's have a look. Let's have a look. It's gonna be Instagram.
Instagram.
No, there's a lot of Instagram.
Bit of TikTok as well. You got it
TikTok,
for the
photos,
content.
Messenger, Strava. How could you not have Strava? Spotify, need that music, and Snapchat. I used to feel quite bad.
I don't do the same.
Yeah. Let's see it, please. I used to feel quite bad by spending so much time looking at Instagram. Then when you really think about it, like there's actually a lot of good stuff on Instagram. Like lots you can learn. Like there's some very good pages you can follow. And if I'm using Instagram to like find news, see sport, all that kind of stuff, why not spend an hour in a day?
Oh,
YouTube,
Oh, mate.
Instagram,
Yeah,
Chrome, Strava, messages. Yeah.
Pretty similar.
I don't see how we could have any other app there, honestly.
Exactly right, mate. And just quickly, Sean, like, what's next for you in 2022 and beyond? What are your top three goals you have? Maybe one for running.
Running in a year's time, if I could do a sub 420 1500, if I could do a low 16-minute 5K. That's what I really want to do.
Good goals.
And the last thing, I want to do a 60K. I want to get into ultra marathon running as well.
Oh, man.
That's really something. That's really. I know, like it
Great
sounds
that, yeah.
very ambitious, but I reckon I got a good group of friends in ultra marathon running.
Oh, you've got a few mates doing that.
Yeah, who I've asked for advice. They're happy to like walk me through and all that stuff. So yeah, I want to hop into that. That's on the running side. I'd like to see where Oracui goes. Obviously, I want to grow that, have that new version of the platform coming out. Shout out to my software engineer Rack, who's been working on it like a beast. He's been amazing. So yeah, hopefully we'll see where that new platform takes us. And the last thing, probably just I don't know, just have fun. Honestly, that's like the most important thing. Honestly, you can. Honestly, you can work, you can do all the things, you can get good grades, but if you aren't having fun, what's the point? Just have fun.
Love that. Anything you want to add or shout out to any people?
No, honestly, man. If I'm
Couple
gonna
of
shout anyone out, I'll shout out you. Like this has been awesome. Very, very well organized. Very good questions, and yeah, you're an awesome host. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, I know you're very busy with uni, like other entrepreneurial stuff going on, but like it's fun. Like first episode, we always capped it off really well, and yeah, definitely started with a kick. And yeah, best of luck with your running. I'm sure you will achieve a lot more. Um, hopefully we can race in the same race.
Hopefully, yeah.
And best of luck.
If we do, you gotta take it easy, okay?
Nah, you gotta take it easy on me. But yeah, I want to see where you can take your podcast and ventures as well. So yeah, best of luck with that.
You too. When this gets like, when your podcast episodes start hitting a million views in an episode, yeah, I don't want you to forget about me or anything like that.
I won't.
So
I will
yeah.
my people.
Awesome.